had this exact same issue last time as well. It only works with my headphones, which is bizarre. I hate this look. I hate the headphones there. Let me see. You know what? I'm just going to leave it there. Hopefully this doesn't bother you, but I'm just going to leave this headphone there. But yeah, I hope that you guys are doing well, and I hope that exam revision and exam season is going okay. I thought I'd just come here and answer your questions, anything to do with exams, anything to do with last minute queries, because I know that you guys have got about like probably a day left before the first exam, and then a few weeks left for the rest of them. So do let me know if there's anything that you guys want to just know last minute, kind of quick fire questions. Just ask and I'll just answer. So how much were you revising for A level in year 12? I think my year 12, I think when I started year 12, I think I had quite a lot of discipline from what I learned in year 11. So in year 11, I think I didn't revise as much as I should have. And I kind of thought, I was doing well in school generally. So I had this mentality that I thought to myself, well, I'm good already. I'm in top set, whatever. So I didn't revise, and I didn't necessarily get the best grades that I could have got. So then when I got to A levels, I think I put my kind of hat on, my study hat on. I thought I have to start. So I think when I got to year 12, I was revising pretty much every day, like making notes anyway, pretty much every day from the beginning. But anyway, we're going to talk about that because it's like the last day now, so I'm not going to make you guys feel bad. I'm so unprepared. Don't feel unprepared at all. Do not feel like that. There's nothing you can possibly do to make yourself perfectly prepared. There's no way that you're going to know everything right now, or even ever. There's always going to be something that you don't necessarily know, and that's okay. So just make sure that you know the main bits. Make sure that you are covering the main bits of content that you need for your subject, and you'll be absolutely fine. Please do not feel that you're unprepared at all. Your exam is on the 4th of June. Okay, so you've got some time. A-level, got an exam tomorrow. Isn't it what exam is it tomorrow? Is it the biology exam? I think the biology Gcse exam is tomorrow. Okay, this is a good question. What should I do when I have 2 exams on the same day? This is a really good question. So normally you might have an exam in the morning and one in the afternoon. Now, this, I don't know, I find those kind of exam schedules really difficult to deal with because you're revising for so many things at the same time. But what I'd recommend you to do is to wake up nice and early, prepare yourself for the first exam, so the morning exam. So let's say you have biology in the morning, prepare yourself for the biology exam. Make sure that you have that content covered, you've got your equipment, everything is ready. But also make sure that you have the equipment for the second exam as well, and you have all the revision tips and the revision, notes that you want to use for the afternoon as well. And then make sure that in between you get a good meal and you make sure that you drink a lot of water. Because what can happen is you can, if you're fasting, I'm sorry, if you're fasting, obviously you can't. But if you can, then make sure you get a good meal and you drink lots of water. If you are fasting, then just go to a nice quiet room, just go and pray, because you don't want to forget your priorities when it comes to Ramadan as well. So make sure you go and pray, refocus your mind, and that hopefully will help you refocus and kind of get back into the zone of going to the next exam. Take time out. Do not think about the first exam. Do not speak to anyone about the first exam. Do not speak to anyone about the second exam as well. The worst thing that you can possibly do after an exam is to talk about it. The worst thing. Do not talk about the exams in between. I know it's very tempting to say, what did you get for question 1? What did you get for this question? But do not do it, okay? Walk away from everyone. Just go to a quiet room and then have the notes ready that you want to revise for the second exam, and just start studying for it. And just you probably have an hour in between the lunch break. If you're fasting, obviously you can't eat and stuff. So just use that time to revise for the second one and forget about the first one. It doesn't matter if it went badly. It doesn't matter if it went well. Just try your best to get rid of that first exam from your mind and then move on to the second exam. And hopefully that will help you, kind of refresh for the second one and go back and, go to the second exam with a completely blank slate, because you don't want to ruin your chances of the second exam because of the first exam. Revision. Okay, any essential revision tips for A-level maths? Method, method, method. One shocking thing that you find all the time with I actually teach maths. So one thing that I find with maths is people just don't show their methods. And I mean, even their thought process. So you might think something, but they don't write it down, or they'll put it into the calculator, but not write it down. And those could be possible marks that you've just lost. So write them down and read the question really well. In terms of revision tips for like last minute revision, I would just say to learn the key methods. So, you know, differentiating, make sure that you know how to do that and how to differentiate anything. Kind of geometry, anything to do with trig. I don't really teach A-level maths and know it that much anymore, so I can't really help you too much. But just in general, especially with GCSEs, I find that methods are a big thing that students lose out on. And also just checking over your work. The one way that I would say to check over your work is to redo the question, but do it again without kind of act like you're doing it. That can help you identify mistakes. Yeah. Any tips for A-level biology? Okay, so I actually tutor A-level biology, and I see big issue with A-level biology when it comes to mathematical techniques. So so there's a few things. So I want to make a video about this, and I do have my notes here. So hopefully I will record the video about this tomorrow. But for biology especially, you need to know the difference between analyze, describe, explain, comment, what the other words I've got, compare. These words are so important to be able to know what the differences are. If you have a graph, right, in biology, and it says to you, describe the graph, and you're there talking about the pathway and why it happens, you've lost that mark. To describe a graph, you need to talk about the different sections. So at the start of the graph, between 1 to 10 minutes, the blood pressure was this. And then between 10 to 50 minutes, the blood pressure went up to this. And then it stayed down, and went down, whatever. That is a description. Okay. When it comes to analyzing or explaining the graph, that is where you explain, all right, so the blood pressure has gone low because the body's done this or the body's done that, and this is what it means. And I think with biology in particular, with A-level biology, where I see the mistake is where students don't necessarily know that difference. And like I said, I've planned this video out, and I want to film it today after this, so should be out tomorrow or maybe Tuesday. And I think it's really important to know how to compare, evaluate, explain, describe. And I'm not sure if it's just not being taught in schools, like what these language, kind of, not even language, but what these words mean. But yeah, I think and this is with students that are kind of A-star students that I tutor, they still really struggle with this issue. And just in general, anything to do with maths and biology, I see a huge issue with when it comes to anything to do with graphs or doing some sort of maths in biology. It just seems to go like over their heads. So if you can, try to practice some questions where you have got mathematical concepts that you have to kind of deal with in biology. And also, like I said, just when you see a question, if you see describe it. If you're describing me, you'd say she's got a red top on, she's got a brown scarf on, she's brown skinned. That is how you describe me. If you were to explain, that is you wouldn't explain me by describing my clothing. You would explain by maybe talking about my characteristics or my personality. And that's the same thing with a graph. Describing means to literally say what's there. Even if it seems like it's really obvious, that is a description. So yeah, hope that helps. But I'll talk about it more in another video. RE tomorrow, biology is Tuesday. Oh yeah, biology is Tuesday. Yes, that's correct. Because I teach some year 11s further maths, and they've got biology on Tuesday. There's a novel of my English literature. I'm literally 90% confident. I wouldn't say that you would be 100% confident ever. It's not possible to know everything. So I would say with English, the key thing is that, let's say your text is Romeo and Juliet. Know the themes. There's only a limited number of themes. They can't ask you a theme that doesn't exist, right? So the themes would be love or romance, revenge, or loss, or maybe power. There's only a certain number of themes, and usually for each text there might be 4 or 5 themes. There won't be more than that. So if you know your text, just make sure that you know what the main themes are, and a question that comes up will definitely fall within one of those themes. And the same with poetry. If you have like a poetry, I can't say poetry anthology, a poetry anthology, kind of group your poems into themes. So again, when you come to the exam and it says compare a romance poem with a romance text, you don't have to think about it. It's just, you know what texts are romance. So yeah, I would just say try to kind of guess what they could ask you and plan for it appropriately. So if you were asked about Romeo and Juliet and revenge, what would you write about? If you can plan that, then when you go to the exam, you just have to write it up. So, and also the quotes. So another way of becoming more confident, I would say, from the question that you've written, is to have the quotes that you want to write about there for you already. So again, just get a piece of paper right now and get your text. So again, like I said, if it's Romeo and Juliet, write down Romeo and Juliet. What is my theme? Theme number 1 is romance. So here's romance. Choose 3 quotes that you think could fit romance. So I think this could fit romance, that could fit romance, this could fit romance, and then that's it. Go to the next theme. And you can do a similar thing for characters as well. So let's say for Romeo, what possible quotes could you use to describe Romeo or whatever, whichever characters you want to talk about? So again, have those quotes there. So when it comes to the exam, you have that bank in your head, and you're kind of doing the extra lifting, the heavy lifting, before you actually get to the exam. So hopefully that helps. Okay, wait, hang on. Hang on. I'm doing English literature and I'm freaking out. Don't freak out, please. That is the worst thing that you can do. Just prepare yourself by what I just said, like the themes. Just praying we don't get a question on toothpaste. I don't remember that one. How would you say to learn case studies for geography? Okay, good question. So for geography with case studies, it's quite similar to, I think, with psychology case studies as well. Just keep on writing them down and memorizing them. So if you have a case study, try to summarize it in as little words as possible. So write down the case study. So look at the case study in your for first, like, give yourself 2 minutes, memorize the case study, then cover the case study and write it out in your own words. Then go back and check the case study and see what you missed out. Then go back and just give yourself another 2 minutes to go over it again. Go to a new sheet of paper, write out the case study again, keep going back and forth until you get to the point where you would have written all the case studies out, and you will feel confident. And one way that I find really helps is active recall. And this is a really good way of doing it by constantly testing yourself. You need very limited resource. You just need a pen, a paper, and then and the case study that you want to memorize. And then all you have to do is write down the case study, double check, write it out again. Do that maybe 5 times for each case study. It might take you about, I don't know, 10-15 minutes for one cycle, I would say. So by the end of an hour, you hopefully would have learnt between 3 to 4 case studies. And I'm saying not just learnt, but fully memorized. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Active recall is really good. And I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but the educational sphere of YouTube has changed quite a bit. I think back in the days, you'd see people talking a lot about highlighters and like highlighting everything and like writing it in pretty flashcards, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Like it looks good. It makes you feel good. But in terms of progress and in terms of actual, kind of memorization and learning, it is false. It does not work. And the reason why those videos do so well on YouTube is because people feel good and they look good and they're aesthetically pleasing. But actually, active recall is the best way of learning. And there's nothing fancy about it. You're literally just testing yourself in whatever way possible. So yeah. Okay. Hang on. I need to go back to the last comment. Do you need science in life? No. I mean, depends what you do. If you do medicine, any science subject, it's always good, even if you don't go into any of the subjects, to know what the body does and stuff. I think it's useful. But yeah, in terms of in life, do you need to know what hemoglobin does? No. but you do need science to get into university and stuff. So technically, yeah. Okay. Oh my God, so much comments. Okay, I need to slow down. There's a novel. Okay. Do top unis really care about AS exams? Okay, so I'm not speaking from fact, but I remember last year or the year before when the new syllabus came into schools, universities weren't looking at AS exams because not all schools do them. So if you've done the AS exam, then yes, the university will look at it, obviously, but I don't think you have to, and not all schools do it. So the student that I tutor, biology, is she's not doing her AS exam this year. The school haven't put her class through. So for her school, they'll just take predicted grades. So do they care about them? Technically, no, because not everyone has them. So technically, if you don't do well in your AS exams, I mean, it would only be bad because then obviously if you add up your AS and your A2s, then overall it'll be harder for you to get a higher grade. But universities, I don't think look at it. Don't quote me on it because I'm not an expert on like what universities do now. I do need to like refresh my memory, but I know for a fact not all schools do AS. So if you have your AS exam, then not everyone also has one. So yeah. Did you fast during your exams? Yeah, of course I did. I mean, exams are no reason to break your fast at all. At all. Can you still get an A at A level with 6 days of revision? Yeah, you can get 100% with 6 days of revision. I mean, you can get what you want, really. I mean, you can revise for the whole year and fail. It's not about time. It's not about the amount of time you spent. It's about what the quality. So this is really where quality and quantity come in. You can spend an hour revising and learn nothing, actually like memorize and take away nothing. Or you could spend 5 minutes just doing a quick active recall activity where you maybe, I don't know, like I was saying earlier, copy out a case study a few times, and you could have learned more than the person who spent an hour. So it really is about like studying smart than studying harder. I truly believe that there is a way of studying smart than studying harder. So yeah, you can definitely get, I mean, if you have no background knowledge and you start revising 6 days before the exam, then it's unlikely you're going to get an A, obviously. But I'm assuming like maybe you haven't done much revision and you want to go hard for 6 days. Yeah, you still can get an A for sure. If you're studying hard, definitely there's no limit. Good luck and dua for us. Yeah, inshallah, you guys will do well. What about history? History is quite similar to what I was saying about geography in terms of memorizing. So what I would do for history is write down all of the key dates and all of the key events that I need to learn, and then just cover them up. So what I probably do is like write down key dates, key events, cover them up like that, right? And then kind of look at the dates and write down what the events were, or maybe look at the events and write down what the dates are, check, do it again, check, do it again. And this will hopefully help to solidify it on in your mind. I feel burned out doing past papers. Help. Keep doing them. Honestly, let them burn you out. Past papers are the best way of revising at this stage. In maybe in the beginning of the year, doing past papers probably isn't that useful because you haven't learned the content yet. But right now, it's a big fly. Wasp even. Right now, you should be testing what you know and finding where your gaps of knowledge are. So if you're doing a past paper and you realize, actually, I don't really feel confident in answering a question about X, Y, and Z, you can go and revise that. So yeah, keep doing past papers. Do as many as you possibly can. Go as far back as you possibly can. Can I just have some motivation, please? To all of those that are revising right now or have exams this week or next week, next week or the week after, or this month or next month, just want to say that you are going to do amazing. You will do well. You have got it in you. Do not compare yourself. Do not think that you won't do well. Do not have regrets. Forget about what you haven't done. Forget about what you should have done. Just think about what you can do from now. Even if you revise for the whole year, don't think that you're in a better position than anyone else. Keep up with whatever it is that you're doing. If you know you have an exam tomorrow, use today to revise for tomorrow. If you know you have an exam on Tuesday, use tomorrow to revise for Tuesday. Just keep on going and keep on running. At this point, there shouldn't be any slowing down. Just keep on sprinting through it. Time will go so fast. Those that are fasting, we've been fasting for a week now. A week already. It goes so fast, and your exams will literally fly like that as well. So have your timetable. You know, you've got your timetable printed out of your exams, and just revise as like according to the timetable. So if you have biology first, obviously revise for that first. And if you know you've got quite a lot of time until your maths exam, then don't neglect it, but keep on going and keep on trying to fit everything in. I know it's hard, and I know that you probably feel stressed out and you feel like the whole world's going to end, but I promise you it doesn't. And even if you feel like you haven't done well, it's okay. You know, it's not the end of the world. You can always come back from it. You can always resit. There are so many amazing paths that you can go down, and yeah, just don't feel demotivated and don't feel like this is it. This is the be all end all. It is not. I promise you, it really is not. Inshallah, you're gonna smash it. You are all gonna smash it, and then when you do smash it, you're gonna let me know that you did smash it. Do schools have to give study leave? I don't know. I do not know. I can't answer that question. Okay, some schools might give you study leave because they think that you are able to learn independently, and I feel kind of half and half about study leave, because I think for some students, study leave is fantastic. For someone like me, who can organize their time and who knows how to prioritize and knows what to do, it's fab. You know, being in school for me was a waste of time because I feel like I had to be in certain classes and I wasn't learning in those classes because I knew what I needed to learn. But then at the same time, there are many students who need to be in school, because if they're not at school, they won't do work outside. And I think sometimes schools have to decide what to do. They have to decide whether they want to kind of allow everyone to go on study leave, which means that maybe half of the kids won't do any work or won't know what to do, and they take that chance, or they keep everyone in, and that means that they kind of benefit the half that aren't going to do work outside school, but then they also know that those that do work will do work regardless. So it's kind of a win. Like, it's kind of hard to decide. If I was a head teacher for school, I don't know what I would do. I think I would like to hope that I would allow students to go on study leave, because I want them to have independence and I want them to be able to manage their own time. But this is probably the first time that you've ever been given that time, and you don't want to not know what to do with it. So if you have got study leave, make sure that you're organizing your time really well. Don't waste it. Don't go out with your friends. You will regret it. I promise you, you will look back in a few weeks when you get your results, and you'll say, I wish I used it better. So if you have got study leave, please make sure that you're using it appropriately. Any tips for quantitative or chemical maths? Is that A-level? I'm scared for 12 markers. Okay, so 12 markers. These are kind of short essay questions, I guess. Start off by understanding the question. So read the question. Again, for those that have just joined, there are different words that exam questions use. So it might say, I've got the list here, by the way, I'm going to do a video on this, but it might say analyze, evaluate, assess, discuss, describe, explain, illustrate, compare, define. They're all different. They're all different. Like, every question that starts with a different word is a different question. So read the question, understand what it's saying. If it's saying to analyze, that means that it needs you to just be critical. So you're being critical, you're going into depth, and you're thinking originally. So you're not just saying what's obvious, but you're being a bit critical. If it's saying to describe, explain, or illustrate, these are descriptive words, so you need to describe. So in psychology, I'm guessing you probably get like compare or evaluate questions as opposed to like describe questions. So the first step is to plan. So look at the question, understand what it's saying, plan. So when you plan, you need to think about the different sections that you are going to write about in this question, okay? So the introduction is the introduction. You just have to kind of summarize what you're going to write about. And then within the essay, you want to plan your essay. So what are the different sections that you want to talk about? So maybe, I don't know, I mean, I did psychology a bit at university, but let's just give a random example about like dreams or something. I don't know if you do that at A-level. But if you're talking about dreams, you might want to talk about the different types of dreams. And I don't know if there are like kind of subsections of dreams, and you probably obviously know them from your studying. So when you write the plan, make sure that you're writing the plan to incorporate all of those sections, right? And then what you would do is in your plan. So the way that I like to plan is kind of like mind map a little bit. So bear in mind, you're in the exam, you've got like 5 minutes to plan. You're not spending the whole half an hour planning. Like, you've got 2 or 3 minutes to plan. You need to make it quick and snappy. So you're just scribbling down, all right, the one topic is going to be childhood, second, adolescence, third, adults, fourth, whatever. And then within that, you might want to kind of make little subheadings and say, okay, I'm going to talk about this, that, okay, fine, that, this theory, that, this theory, whatever. Then you come into actually writing. So you've kind of broken it down a little bit first, and then you start writing. And then make sure that you've left 5 minutes at the end of the exam to check your 12 marker. So if it's a 12 marker exam, I'm guessing it's probably like a 20-minute amount of time that you need to spend, or maybe like half an hour, depends on how it works. But make sure you leave at least a couple of minutes to check over your work, because there is a certain amount. So from that 12 marks, there would probably be 2 or 3 marks. It's usually like 10%, 20%. So 2 to 3 marks would be for spelling, grammar, structure, organization. So make sure that you go back and double check that your spelling is on point, your grammar is fine, it makes sense, you can read it, it's legible as well. Because the worst thing is for an examiner to sit there, open the 200th exam that he or she is marking, and is not able to read your writing. What do you want them to do? Like, they're either going to skip parts of it because they don't get it, or they're going to be breaking it down, like trying to read bits of it and trying to understand what you're saying. It's going to ruin their experience completely. So make sure that you are trying to keep stay legible. And I know it's hard because you're just like scribbling, but try your best to stay legible when you write any long answer questions. Okay. I hope research methods don't come up that much. Good luck to everyone. Okay, if you have one exam after another, how to plan revision. I think I talked about this in the beginning. So just planning. So the night before, revise for both. Then in that morning, wake up early. So wake up if you're fasting, I would say don't go to sleep after. Okay, it's probably bad advice. That's what I would do. Probably I would say try to wake up at 5 or 6. Get an hour of studying for the first exam. So revise for the first exam in that morning. Forget the second one for now, revise the first one. But take your notes for the second one. And then after the first one, if you're fasting, then obviously you don't have you're not eating lunch, so you've got time to revise for the second one there. Yeah, that's hopefully what I want to say. Who's ready for GCSEs? You better be ready. Okay, I talked about that. I want to apply for medicine through clearing. I'm wondering if they ask for personal statement, do I have to make a new one or use the one I'm applying for another degree? I believe that you can use the one that you already applied for, because when you apply for clearing through clearing, your UCAS is already there. Like, you're not making a new UCAS, so they're going to see whatever it is that you wrote for your original application. But like I said, please don't quote me on any university application stuff, because I'm not an expert on it for what they do now. Double check that. I might look that up actually and do a video on that. Yeah, for English last minute revision, I would say quotes, know your themes, know how to describe how writers write. So know what personification is and what it does, know what imagery is and what it does, know what different tones are and what they do, know what foreshadowing is and what it does. So all of these tones and all of these kind of characteristics of a poem or of writing is really, really important. I still have specimen 2016 physics paper. Do all of them. Try to do all of them. You have got time. Just do all of them. Or what I would say is work from the back. So usually students always start from the front, and you end up doing like the first half and then kind of getting bored. So start from the back and then go that way. So that means that you're getting the harder questions done. Do you think I should focus on maths and English or all of them? All of them. All of them. There's not enough to have good maths, good English, and to have bad everything else. Focus on all of them. Yeah, 100%. Motivation, please. I gave some earlier. How do I revise last minute for English? Okay, I did that. I'm praying everyone fasts. It looks like there's going to be a lot of prayer tonight. A-level organic chemistry. Did you draw out the equations for synthetic roots? I would say to include any information that you need to. So I don't know exactly what you're talking about for organic chemistry. I did chemistry. I loved chemistry. I got an A in it as well, but I don't remember it very well now. So, but my advice would be to include everything. So if you think that the synthetic roots are relevant, include it. There's the biggest wasp that's just making that something scaring me. Okay, so yeah, again, do I focus only on maths and English or consider all of them? Please consider all of them. Okay, this is a good question. How do I control stress for GCSEs? All right, so controlling stress. No, stop going. Stop. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, it's fine. I've gone far down. So controlling stress. To control stress, I would say to think about. Okay, this is going to sound really like cliche, but to think positively. And when I say to think positively, I don't just mean like happy thoughts, because naturally we don't always have happy thoughts, and sometimes we feel like we've done worse than we actually have done. And that's the main thing. I think the reason why we're stressed out is because you probably feel like you haven't revised enough. You're probably regretting some decisions that you made in the past. You're probably thinking that you wish you had done more, or that someone else has done more than you, or someone else has said they've done more than you, or your parents are going to be disappointed, or whatever. All these things. A lot of the time, they're all untrue. If you're stressed out, it's probably because you've done something or you've done some revision and you feel like you maybe haven't done enough, but you've done something. At the end of the day, like GCSEs don't dictate your life completely. I mean, if you're on A-levels, it's a bit different because you have to go to university. But even then, you can still go to a good university with maybe not so great A-levels, but then still go on to have an amazing career and an amazing life. And I'm saying that from someone who has seen people from all kind of parts of that spectrum. So I've seen students who did really well in GCSEs, but then went on to not do so well later, or maybe didn't do too well in GCSEs and A-levels, but then picked it up later on in a different way and went on to do amazing things. So don't feel stressed out, because honestly, this is just a part of your life that you have to go through. And if you do well, it's amazing. If you don't, that's fine. And that's just how it's supposed to be, and that's just how that's just the path that your life is going to lead. And at the end of the day, you will get to where you want to get to with hard work and dedication. Anything is possible. GCSEs do not define you, and that's something that I think is really. I think you need to really drill that into your mind. There are loads of YouTubers here on YouTube that do medical school vlogs and like law school vlogs, and a lot of them have sit their GCSEs. A lot of them have resit their A-levels, and anything's possible. Honestly, don't feel like this is your one and last chance to be successful. That is not the case at all. I promise you. That don't be stressed out. And if you are stressed out, because I can understand if you are, because I was as well. If you are, just take a moment to breathe. Step away from what you're doing, stand up, kind of go for a walk, just talk to someone else that's not your parents or like not your friend. Just, I don't know, not someone who's revising as well, but maybe a little sister or a little brother, or like, I don't know, just someone else, just trying to get out of the space where you are constantly thinking about your exams, and then come back to it. I really think it's a shame for anyone to feel like they are at a loss, because honestly, you're not. I promise you. Are you Somali? Nope, I'm Ethiopian. Well, I'm British, but ethnically Ethiopian. Tarawih or revision? I would say revise. Tarawih is not compulsory. It is not something that you have to do. It is something that is nice to do. It's something that would be nice to do when you can do. But I definitely would say it's not compulsory. Do not go to a mosque and stand there all night to then come home and be stressed out. Don't do that. You fast, make sure you're praying, make sure that you're reading Quran when you can. But I would definitely 100% revise over going to the mosque, 1000%. You've got the whole month. So if you have a Friday night, go to the mosque on Friday night or Saturday night, but definitely not on an exam night, I would say. But it's up to you. It's your choice. How do you revise in the day when you're fasting and really struggling without water? Okay. So obviously I'm fasting right now as well. So I'm just trying to imagine if I was revising, how would I feel? Yes, I'm thirsty. But I think one way to kind of try to combat that is by drinking lots of water when you can. And I think the way that I feel right now and the way that I felt 2 days ago is totally different. 2 days ago, I didn't drink enough water. So that in the evening, after iftar, I had 1 cup of water. And then in the morning, I had 1 cup. So the next day, I was really thirsty. I had a dry throat all day. Last night, I drank two or 3 cups, I think. And then the night before, I drank 2 or 3 cups. So I had drunk enough to make me feel better. So I would say, like, there's nothing you can do. You can't drink water. There's nothing you can do. I can't give you any tips for that. But what I can say is just make sure that you do drink enough. Don't drown your organs as well. But make sure you do drink enough to keep you hydrated. So one way of doing this is not by drinking a whole liter in a minute. That's not healthy. What you should do is kind of have like every hour, maybe have 2 glasses every hour. So when you break your fast at 8:30, have 2 glasses. And then at 9:30, have another glass. At 10:30, have another glass. 11:30, have another glass. So by the time you've gone to bed at like 11:30 or something, 10, 11 or 11:30, you've had like 4 or 5 glasses and it's not just in one go. And I mean, just have to pray and just have to have faith that what you're doing is the right thing, because there's no way you can replenish your body. There's no way that you can eat or drink. So you just have to have faith and just make sure that you're sleeping and having enough rest to get you through the day. What did you get in your GCSEs? I got 1 A star in maths, and then I got the rest A's, and I think I got 1 B in history. But yeah, I got like, I think 10 A's or something. Yeah. But like I said, I mean, when I say I could do better, it was because I actually could have done better. That I didn't revise. I was like reading books that were nothing to do with my exams, which is why I definitely stepped it up for my A levels. Tips for maths, past papers. I'm not joking. Just past papers. There's nothing more I can say. Past papers is pretty much the only thing you can do. How important is using quotes in 15 markers is RS religious studies, I'm guessing? Quotes, you don't use quotes in RS, you'd use like whatever. So if it's Islam you're talking about, you'd use Islamic principles, or I'm guessing RS is religious studies. If that is the case, then yeah. Hi Amina, how's fasting today? Going great. It's currently 4 p.m. I'm guessing everyone here is in the UK, but it's currently 4 p.m. and I'm feeling fine. There's another 4 hours left, so decent amount of time. I'm feeling fine. It's a really nice day today. I don't know, I mean, you guys are most probably in London or the UK anyway. It's a really nice day today. It's really sunny, so I'm kind of feeling a bit jealous because usually on the weekends I'm not at home. Like, I'm just always doing something. So, and there's nothing I can do if I can't eat. So, what would be good to focus on last minute revision for English Lit? I think I've said this a few times, but I'm going to say it again because I know people are new now. So quotes, themes, plan, like make mini plans, know your characters, know what the significance is of your characters, and know how to use comparative language. So how to compare different kind of aspects of literature and poetry and stuff between 2 texts. Thank you so much. You're welcome. How early should we revise for an exam? Okay, so if you have an exam that's a 9 a.m. exam, I would say to get to school for about 8 or whatever time you have to get to school, but just get there a bit early to make sure that you've got your equipment and, like, you know, everything's there and you're okay. So I would say to get to school a bit earlier. which means you're probably going to have to start getting ready about 7:30 if you're, if you live kind of that distance, about half an hour, 15-20 minute distance. So that means 7:30 is when you're going to have to stop. So I'm going backwards. So I would probably start revising from about 6. So between 6 to about 7:30, or so 6 to 7:30, I'd say was a good time to just not, I wouldn't say cram, but just gloss over everything. So you should have either like notes or some sort of like, I don't know, past papers or something that you can just quickly gloss over, or some topics that you feel like this is something that I just need to look over one more time. You can't look over everything, but if you can look over like most of the topics again, that would be fine. So probably I would say I personally would wake up for A levels or GCSE, would wake up at 6. This is for someone who's fasting. If you're not fasting, I would even wake up earlier at 5. When I was at university for my university exams, if any of you guys are doing university exams, I used to wake up at like 3. So I'd wake up at 3 on the day of the exam and revise from 3 to 6 or 6:30, depending what time my exam was. But then, like I said, if you're fasting, it's a bit difficult to do that because that means you're not sleeping from like 2. It's a bit of a struggle. It is hard to fast and do exams, I'm not gonna lie, but you just have to do it, guys. You just have to. How do you revise for Unit 2, Unit 3 English language? I don't know. And why do you need a pencil in English? You need a pencil in English. I mean, you don't need a pencil in English, as in need it and you can't do the exam without it. But you do need all your equipment. So you always need a pencil, pen, rubber, ruler, etc. Because you just never know what you need it for. You might want to use a pencil to make a plan and rub it out. You might want to scribble something. Just have everything. Like a pencil is not going to hurt you to have. I mean, in English you don't need it. In maths you definitely do, and other subjects. How did you organize your notes? I had binders, so I had folders, and then I had like every module or every topic in there. How to revise for French? French. Okay, so French. I would say vocabulary. So know your vocab. Know how questions are asked. So a lot of the time you'll have to listen to audio, and they might ask someone else a question. So you should be able to know like the words. What, where, how, why, who. Those words. Know what they are, and know how you would then continue on from those words. And then vocabulary, and then being able to describe things. So describing a place, your school, yourself, a person. I think I would say vocabulary is everything. If you know your vocabulary, then you can kind of like, even if you don't know your grammar too well, if you know your vocabulary, you're not stuttering. And I'm learning Arabic, so like how to speak it. I can read it, but I don't know how to speak it. So I think with me, I feel more confident when I know words. When I don't know words, I'm like, well, I don't know how to say this most basic word, then I can't progress in the sentence. But if I know the words, then I can even just say the word. Because if you think about it, if someone was speaking to you in English and said cat, I don't know, cat, sofa, floor, you'd kind of like figure it out. But if they don't know the words, then there's nothing you can do. So even if you know what the vocabulary is, then you can at least just say this vocabulary and like people can understand, or like it's better than nothing basically, and you feel more confident as well. I love you, thank you. I feel upset, I'm not going to do well on anything and I might have to retake. You don't feel like that, please don't. And you are overthinking it, absolutely overthinking it. Do not think like that. You will do amazingly, I promise you. Like I said, you will do your best. How much do you recommend to revise each day? I would say at this point, you should be revising in every hour that you have. So, I mean, obviously take breaks, but your main goal in your day should be to revise. So let's say you go to school between 9 to 3, you get home at 4, just relax a bit, have a little break, obviously. Don't just like go straight into it, but then start from 5 to 10 or whatever time it is that you have in the evening. You should be studying. There's no doubt about that. There shouldn't be any kind of on Snapchat chilling. Like you have the whole weekend, the whole summer weekend. You have the whole summer to do that. Thank you for all the support. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I mean, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. This is what I mean. I feel like because I'm me giving you guys help is actually helps me feel better about what it is that I'm doing as well. And I really hope that I can come back next year even better, because I feel like this year I started with all this exam stuff for GCSE A levels a bit later on. I think I started around I think it was like February or March. But next year I want to start from September like fresh. What do you think will come up in the biology paper? Anything, everything. You can't predict it. How can I revise when I'm fasting? Finding it really help. So I actually wrote down a few things. Let me try and get it. I didn't actually end up making a video. I planned it, but I didn't actually end up filming it. So let me just quickly go through it. So don't read dense notes and textbooks because you're tired and you're probably hungry and stuff. But do use active recall to help with memory. So write down a question, try to answer it, write down, check it, keep checking, go back, examine papers, stuff like that. Secondly, don't study for hours without a break. It's ineffective, and also the retention ends up being really low, and you actually end up not learning that much. So if you have got between 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. to study, I would say don't just sit there for 4 hours straight. Definitely take little breaks in between. So study harder, study smarter, not harder. So what I would say is like kind of have a technique where you're studying for small sections. So you might want to do 45 minutes, 10-minute break, 45 minutes, 10-minute break, 45 minutes. So that way you're targeting your revision. So every 45 minutes can be a different topic or a different subject. And then in the 10-minute break, you can go and help your mum with the cooking, or you can go and read Quran or pray or wash your face or whatever. And that's something you can do. Thirdly, don't drink coffee at midnight, study longer. That's a really, really important fasting tip. Don't drink coffee or have anything that's going to make you stay awake for longer, because what's going to happen is you'll stay awake, fine, you'll be able to revise, okay, next day you're crashing, and that's the problem. Don't have Red Bull shouldn't be in your diet anyway. I mean, who drinks Red Bull anyway? Regardless, like that's so bad for you. Red Bull is so bad for you. It's killed so many people. Don't drink it. Like seriously, it can increase your heart rate. So energy drinks as a whole, do not drink it at all. But yes, instead of that, drink water or drink like herbal teas or like any juice or smoothies. I was gonna say smoothies, juices or smoothies. Fine. And lastly, do not try to make notes right now, or don't try to kind of get a textbook and figure out like how to make things look pretty. We're past that point right now. We're past it completely. You should be focusing solely on active recall and reminding yourself of the topics that you need to learn. What else did I say? Yeah, and also if you have any, like your school might have brought Maths Watch or Hecate Maths, or for maths anyway, or there might be other programs for other subjects. But if you have any of those tools, use them. If you know, for example, that you're feeling a bit weak on histograms or box plots or factorizing, go to their Hecate Maths or Maths Watch and try to figure out. GCSEs are not hitting you yet, and they start tomorrow. Do you know when it's going to hit you? Let me tell you when it will hit you. It will hit you. It won't hit you tomorrow, as in the morning. You'll be fine. You'll be like, yeah, I've got an exam. Okay. It'll hit you when you go into the exam hall and it's serious, because you have never experienced anything like that before. This is your first time. Yeah, you might have sat some mocks before, and yeah, that's obviously going to be serious as well. But this is serious because, number one, the examiners won't be, not the examiners, sorry, the invigilators won't be your teachers. There'll be external invigilators. There'll be external invigilators that are paid to walk around in exam halls. I was one of them once for a different, for a university. I think it was for Imperial. So they're not your teachers, because what can happen is teachers can sometimes help their students. So when you're mocks, you probably had your teachers walking around, because I was one of them as well. But yeah, you'll see random people and you'll be like, okay, they won't be lenient on you at all. So whereas in your mocks, you might have had teachers who, if you had looked at your friend or whatever, would have just told you off, or looked at you or whatever, came to you and told you to stop. The invigilator will chuck you out. They don't know you, they don't care for you. They're there to do their job and to make sure that they're enforcing no cheating, no plagiarism, individual work. If you are looking at someone else, or you're talking, or you're like communicating, or whatever it is that you're doing, you are out, and there's no teacher there to back you up. So there's that. I mean, it's very rare, by the way. This doesn't happen very often, but I'm just saying, like, if you think you're going to go to a cushy little hall with your cushy teachers who love you, that's not the case. And that's when it hits you. You're like, oh crap, this is real. And then obviously you have like your ID card, which will be probably your lunch card, or maybe, I think, no, they print out ID cards. Yeah, so you have like an ID card, and then it's all very formal, is what I'm saying. And there's no teacher there for you to fall back on, and that's where it gets a bit hard. Not hard, but that's where you realize that you're in an exam, and an actual exam, and that's when it hits you. And then after that, it's real. But I think you have to go through the first one to realize that this is actually the GCSE exams, or A-level exams, or university exams. But I mean, by the time you've done your university exams, you know what it's like. But I'm saying for GCSE students who have never done it before, yeah, that's definitely hard to accept when your teachers are not there anymore, and you can't just be like, sir, could you explain? There's there's none of that at all. So yeah. I personally think students shouldn't fast during exams. You need food and water to fuel your brain. I disagree. Completely disagree. In fact, it has been scientifically proven, and I'm going to do a video on this as well. I've picked out a few research papers that show that during fasting, concentration is heightened, productivity is heightened, and you're in a more kind of focused state of mind, because what happens is, normally when you eat, your digestive system is working, and bear in mind that your digestive system takes up the most amounts of energy than any other system in your body. So it's working so hard to break down that food. So what happens is, you're kind of like, that's why there's something called the itis. I'm sure, like, you know, after you eat, you're just like slumped. That's called the itis, or it's called something else that they call it. But yeah, anyway, so that's why. So when you're fasting, actually, all that energy is here, is in your brain. So I completely disagree that you shouldn't fast. I mean, the only problem with fasting is not the fasting itself, it's the sleep and the kind of time management, and you know, kind of like not being able to drink water, I would say, is probably like, you know, being thirsty and revising is probably the issue. But otherwise, in terms of the fasting itself is actually something that's allowing you to be more productive. And I see that in myself as well. Maybe you don't see it now because you are quite young and you don't necessarily see the difference, but you'll notice it when you're older, that the month of Ramadan is actually your most productive month at work, in university, and everything. It's so productive. During my PhD, that was my most productive month, just because I was like, go, go, go. There's no food to think about. There's no breaks to think about. It was just go, go, go. So yeah, disagree. I mean, if you obviously don't feel comfortable fasting, then I can't stop you. But I would not say that you are at an advantage by not fasting at all. And you'll see that on results day when you look at students that were fasting, which is probably most students, and you look at their grades, they will not suffer, and you'll regret not fasting if you don't. It's not a good enough excuse. I remember that Allah never gives you a hardship that's more than what you can bear. If you were not able to bear it, you wouldn't have been given it. So yeah, I would never say not to fast, 100%. Do you recommend all-nighters? Okay, so in general, no. And that's my answer. No, because look, you've got a circadian, is that how you say it? Yeah, circadian rhythm, which is the rhythm that matches the daylight. So what happens is your body clock is fixed in a way where you are awake during the light hours and you're asleep during the dark hours, and it not only affects your awake and sleep, but it also affects your homeostasis. So the way that your body works, and the way that your digestive system works, and the way that your growth hormones work, and everything else. So if you're staying awake all night, and your exams the next day or in the next couple of days, what's going to happen is, on the next day, you are going to be so fatigued, right? So fatigued, because this is not normal. it's not normal for you to do this, especially if you've never done it before, or you're starting to do it now. You'll notice the difference. You'll notice an effect. And then what will happen is you have to pay that back at some point, because even if you sleep all day, you're going to get to a point where you have to pay that back because your body isn't quite adjusted with the daylight outside. So I would not recommend it at all. I don't think it's a good thing. And I don't think, I mean, you can stay up until, I'd say, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. revising. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So I recommend, yeah, all night. Yeah, so if you are saying till 2 a.m., that's fine. That's not a big deal. I used to do that. It's fine because you're still getting sleep from 2 to 7 or 8. That's fine. But in terms of revising from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I don't recommend it. And I don't think it's, I mean, if you're doing that a month before the exam, fine. Because it means that by the time the exam comes, you can kind of readjust. But if you're doing that the night before the exam, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think what you learn in that all-nighter will not be worth it compared to the effects that you'll feel afterwards, is what I'm saying. I've been sick all month and did not revise. I'm back for okay. So if you've been in hospital, that is a mitigating circumstance. So what I would recommend you to do is to speak to your school. And I'm guessing you said you've been in hospital. So you can either so speak to your school. There'll be ways that you can get around this. And either what will happen is you can either resit your GCSEs. I believe there is another set of resits. There's another set of GCSEs in August. So you can probably resit them then, and the summer ones won't count. The ones now won't count, because that is obviously, if you've been in hospital, that's not fair. Or what will happen is you could sit them, and then if you're applying for colleges or university, you take that note with you wherever you go, and you say, look, I got these grades, but this was what I was going through. So yeah, speak to your school about it, 100%. There's also a possibility of extra time as well. So if you have any like issues like dyslexia or any other needs where you need extra time, you can also get that. But I'm not sure if it's too late for that right now, in terms of like applying for that. But speak to your school, you never know. I would say speak to them about anything, you never know. You're such an inspiration. Love you. Thank you. Any tips for last minute revision, cramming? There's no, I would say right now, practicing is the best way. So just doing past papers. That is your cram right now, I would say. How early should you revise for an exam? Okay. In hindsight, so looking back at all the experience that I've gone through, I would say from the first lesson in September. Now, obviously, a lot of you are in your GCSEs, so you probably are going to go to your A-levels next year, so you can use this next year. But what you should do is, so the first lesson in September, you're going to have your different subjects, whether that's university, whether that's A-levels, whether that's GCSE. Come home, just go over it. Now that might take you just 10 minutes, right? You learned that lesson today, so it'll take you 10 minutes. Just make some quick notes, highlight some parts that you think are important, and move on. What will happen is when Christmas comes around and you've got the holidays and you're getting ready for exams maybe in January or something, you've gone over everything like as the year's gone along, and you're not going to be kind of stumbling over aspects that you learned in September or October. That's how early. And I genuinely think that by doing that, revision occurs in December and January, because then you're going over what you've already learnt. You can't revise something you haven't learnt. It doesn't work like that. Revision means you are re-looking. You're looking at that topic again. If you haven't looked at it before, you're learning it for the first time. So yeah, I think by looking at it again after you've done it at school, because learning at school is not, I would say, fully learning, because you're obviously, you've seen it for the first time. You probably got to try it for 10-15 minutes in class, but actually revising and studying is really important in your own time. So yeah, I would say every day, like 10 minutes makes a big difference, huge difference. This is random. Do you have any tips for curly hair under the hijab? Yes, I do actually. I do have a lot of tips. This is not really revision relevant, but I would say plait your hair if you have curly hair. My hair is always in plaits. So like I've got 2 braids here, and then I've got like 10 plaits. always. It really helps lock in the moisture. Any tips to stay calm and not panic the night before an exam? So I spoke about this before, but my tips, oh no. Hang on. Oh no, where's it gone? Oh gosh. Okay, I've gone all the way down. All right then. Okay, I'm just gonna have to go as I go. Any tips for, was it not panicking? Yes. So my tips would be to make sure that you are looking over notes, just looking over the key points, but most importantly, not thinking too much about it, as in not trying to compare, not trying to think about what you could have done, what you should have done, what he's doing, what she's doing, none of that. You just need to focus on what you are doing, what you've done, what you need to know, making sure that your equipment, making sure that your pens work. So don't just come in with one pen that might break. Have 3 or 4 pens. You'll never have too many. Like I used to take like 6 pens just in case one broke and the other one broke and the other one broke. You just never know. So take at least 3 pens, I would say. 2 pencils, so you don't have to sharpen. The last thing you want to do is sharpen a pencil on your desk. So take 2 or 3 pencils, which means that if one goes blunt, you can go to another one without sharpening. Take a rubber, take a ruler, and any other equipment that you need. A calculator, make sure that it is put back to default settings, so you're not on like the degree setting. Yeah. Can you retake? You can retake anything. Yeah, you can literally retake anything. Okay. I want to know if I can retake. Yeah, you can retake, but the only thing about retaking is schools don't usually allow you to retake because they have to pay for it. So you might have to pay for it yourself, which is, I don't think it's that much. I think it's like 100 or something. I mean, I don't think it's like a huge amount, but I can't remember. What did you get in GCSEs? I answered this already, but I got 1 A star. I got 1 A star, 1 A star, the rest A's, like 10 A's, and then 1 B in history. Is she looking at this chat or something else? I'm looking at this chat. So the camera is, I'm on my Mac. Camera's up there at the top. The chat thing is there. So I'm looking at that. Is it normal to be relaxed before an exam? Yeah. I was the most, if I look this way, I'm looking at the window. I was the most relaxed person, and it annoyed my friends because they were like, why are you not stressed out? I don't understand. And I was like, because I'm prepared. Like, I'm fine. Like, I'm not worried. There's nothing I can do at this point. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. But obviously, failing means that you've done nothing. So if you've done something, you're not going to fail. But yeah, I was like, at this point, I'm stressing out. The only thing I'm going to do is worry myself, stress myself out, get myself in a panic. It's not helpful for me. It's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for anyone. Saying I'm so stressed doesn't make me. It's not going to help anyone get a better grade. It's just what I did on the morning of the exam. I read the Metro. I was like, at this point, if I'm trying to get some information in my head on the way to school, what's going to happen is I'm going to end up getting confused, and I'm going to end up unlearning the information that I learnt. So you know what? Let's read the Metro. Yeah. If you are relaxed, that's not a bad thing. I mean, it could mean that you don't really care, but most likely it means that you feel like you've done what you can, and there's nothing more you can do. I mean, honestly, there gets to a point where there's actually nothing more you can do, even if you've done all the past papers and you've read all the textbooks in the world and you've spoken to every teacher and you've revised all year. I mean, really and truly, like, what more can you do? There really isn't more that you can do. I've answered that. Okay, I'm going to go to the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom. Is it cheating to do past? No. Is it cheating to do past papers? No, not at all. Not at all. In your perspective and experience, do you think Asia's GCSE papers are generally harder? Yes. They're not harder. They're at a different level. So whereas in UK schools, we might learn quadratics in, I don't know, year 10 or year 11, they would learn it in year 7. So when you compare their year 11 exam with our year 11 exam, it's obviously going to be harder because they're kind of at an elevated level than us. So yes, it's harder, but that's not because our kids can't do it. That's because our kids haven't learned it yet. Yeah. I did one that my teacher said I was cheated. What? That is bizarre. No, not at all. If you do, no, what? Why would the teacher say that? That's so weird. Did you feel pressure from your parents? Yes, 100%. I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for my parents. Like, as in, just making me do everything. But no, I think parents always have your best interest at heart, and they want you to do well. And it's not only because they want you to do well, but it's also because they want to see you be successful and to make sure that they've ensured that they've given you a good future. Because in their head they think to themselves, well, after I go, when I'm not here anymore, I want to make sure that my kids, who are you guys, have a happy life, have security. And for them, that's finance. Having money means that you are secure and you'll be able to do whatever it is in life that you want to do. So yeah, I think yes, I was definitely under pressure, but I think now looking back at it, and I know what I know, and I can see where I am and like what they did, I'm like, you know what, thanks for the pressure, because if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be where I am. Are the invigilators scary? They're not scary. I mean, you can look at the time, it's fine. Can I look at the time on the wall? Do I stay still? I mean, if you want to just stay like that, it's fine. But no, I mean, you can look up. You can have I think you can have a watch. Just I would keep a watch on your wrist, because sometimes the clock is quite far back, and if you're in a really big sports hall, you might not be able to see it, and you might have to keep on looking like that. So if you have a watch, please just take it in with you, and just like what I would say, just like take your watch off and just put it on your desk. If you are not fasting, then I would say take some water in. And I think some schools allowed a fruit as well, but I'm not sure. But I don't think you should drink water during an exam. Do you want to go to the toilet? I mean, just don't. And also, if you go to the toilet, the invigilator goes in the toilet with you. I mean, obviously not in the cubicle, but like waits outside with you. Do you think mocks are harder than GCSEs? No, not necessarily. I just think that mocks appear harder because at that point you haven't revised as much, and obviously you haven't covered all the topics, so it might appear harder. But yeah, I think no, not necessarily. My school doesn't allow watches. Oh, okay, interesting. I did not know that. And yeah, we're allowed snacks. I have seen that in some schools actually. I have seen some schools allow them to have like sweets and stuff, which is interesting. But I mean, why? I don't want a distraction. I just want to get on with the exam. Yes, actually, you know what? I'll let you into a little secret. Some schools, when they mark their mocks, what they do is they give the kids slightly lower results than what they actually got. So instead of, if you actually got an A, they'll give you a B to make you feel like you need to work harder. Little tip. So all I'm saying is, don't stress yourself out, because you never know how much what you actually got. My battery's about to die. Let me quickly go and get my charger. Hold on. 1 second. All right, I'm gonna plug you guys in on the other side, because there's no socket here. 1 second. Okay, I'm not gonna stay for too long, by the way, because I've already been here for a little while. Sit down here. If you have anxiety, can you do your exam in another room? Technically, yes, but you can't just on the day say, oh, I feel anxious, can I go to another room? It doesn't work like that. You have to have spoken to your teachers beforehand, and been assessed, and because what they have to do is make sure there's an invigilator in that room with you. So you can't just appear and say, I need to go to another room. It doesn't work like that. So you have to speak to someone about it before. What can I do if I didn't study at all? What is this? Why is this frozen? Okay. What can I do if I didn't study at all? Okay. This is hard for me to answer because I really don't know. Well, not don't know, but I really don't know why you'd put yourself in that position. I think that's something that you need to learn. I don't like how low this is. Hold on. Let me just get this up on the chair. It's not so low. Okay, there we go. That is better. Yeah, I really don't know why you'd put yourself in that position where you haven't revised. I think that's not very smart. But if you haven't, then I would say to just go over the exam that you have the next day. So if you have an exam tomorrow and it's in biology or whatever, then go and look at that subject. Just try to flick through a textbook or try to flick through a past paper. There's not much you can do in just one day, as in just like one night, but you can make a difference. So if you haven't learned anything and your exam is tomorrow, then you can still make a difference. If you learn one or two things and that comes up, you can technically increase a grade in a day. Technically you can. Yeah, but I mean, try not to get yourself in that position next year if you did that this year. Okay. What do I have? Okay. Tips for A-level literature last minute, which is different from GCSE. So I actually really loved A-level literature. So for A-level literature, what I would say is know how to plan an essay. So with A-level literature, you get an exam question and you have to write an essay for it. So if you know how to plan an essay and if you know what to include in a plan, then that can really help you structure your essay, and as a result, you'll write a good essay. So if I quickly just briefly go through what a plan would look like, you obviously have an introduction, and in the introduction, you might want to touch upon what you're going to talk about. So you don't give your conclusion in the introduction, but it is nice if you touch upon the topics that you are going to talk about, and then you kind of break down your essay into different topics. So if you are talking about a specific theme, what topics do you think will go into it? Make sure that you're aiming for your different AOs. So context, what is the context that kind of you could talk about in that theme or for that question? And then what quotes could you use, things like that. So for English Lit, I would say for revision, just make sure that you know what your themes are. Make sure that you know kind of what quotes are most relevant, and like I said, how to structure a plan, because if you've got the plan, you've got everything else, honestly. Yeah, there's so many comments. Oh my god. A BBC study shows that drinking water during an exam boosts educational achievement. Okay, I mean, that's fine, but the students that I saw drinking water were getting up and going to the toilet twice during the exam. So I don't have time for that. I don't have time to go anywhere. And bear in mind also, like, you can't all go at the same time. So if you're drinking water during the exam and you need to go, you need to wait for the person before to come back with the invigilator, and then you're gonna go. So you're waiting for a little while. You didn't answer my question. There are so many questions. I can't stop this. It's just like going down. I'm so sorry. Please say it again, Mariah. I'm so sorry. I can't, like, it's going so fast. And even though I'm trying to stop it, it's like, it just keeps on going. This is off topic. Where's your shirt from? It's so nice. Thank you. It's from Zara. It's really cute. It's got like a little flare as well. I really like it. But it is not recent. It was from, I think, was it last year or year before? But probably have it now as well. Do you think that you can go to Russell Group University with any sixth form background? Yep, 100,000%. 100,000%. I can't even, yes. Yeah, I don't need to expand on that. Yes, you can go anywhere with, you can go to Cambridge or Oxford. Forget Russell Group. You can go to Oxbridge with from any college, 1,000%. Yeah, all you need is the right grades and a good personal statement and good experience. Let me know if you guys are writing personal statements. I do look at them, do check them. There's a small cost, but yeah, please email me on iminplace@gmail.com. I've seen you twice now. Didn't want to stop you. Stop me. Come on. Do you know anything about US scholarships? Unfortunately not. Sorry. I'm really stressed. I'm in year 9 and I have a fast track religious studies exam tomorrow. Any tips for answering 12-mark question? I gave tips a little while ago for 12-mark question for Ari. Like I said earlier, please plan your essays. So know what it is that you're writing about. For Ari especially, make sure that you know when you see the question, make sure that you know the difference between what they're asking you to do. Are they asking you to explain, to describe, to analyze, to compare? And once you've done that, make sure that you've planned your essay. So, I mean, 12-mark question is a short essay, I suppose, but plan it appropriately so that you know that you've included all the, you know that you are going to include all the topics that you should aim for, and then check it afterwards. Second, should I study from Isha to Sahih? No, I wouldn't, because then that means that if you study from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., if you didn't have an exam the next day, that would be okay, because it means that you could sleep until like 9 a.m. and you'd be okay. But if you do have an exam the next day, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because that means that you would then have to wake up at 3, well, sleep at 3, then wake up at 6-ish. I don't know. I can't say what would work 100%, but what I can say, because everyone's different, but what I can say is that you need your sleep. Okay, so if revising from Isha to Suhoor is something that you feel like you have to do, but if you do it, you're going to get tired, then don't do it. What will happen is, if you do that, what will happen is in the exam, you're going to be yawning, you're going to be tired, you're going to be lack of concentration, your exam won't be as effective. So actually what you learn in those hours won't really be that useful for you. So yeah, sleep is something that I wouldn't play with during exams at all. That's another question. Do you have any physics exam techniques? Yeah, just make sure that you show all your methods and you write down everything, and you show diagrams as well. So if you know that you need to use a specific formula, write the formula down, and even if you don't use it, you can get a mark for that, because it shows that you know the formula. Yeah, so write everything down, guys. Is it easy to get grade 9? I mean, if it was easy, everyone would get it. It's not easy, but you do need to revise in a specific way, and you need to make sure that your technique is appropriate. Hello, what year at school did you find the most hardest? I would say AS, probably AS. So year 12. Yeah, I would say year 12, because year 10, 11, it's like it's fine, okay. And then the jump between year 11 and year 12 is really high. Even though your subjects, you think, oh, I'm only doing 3 subjects or 4, but the level that the content goes up in and the expectations are much higher. But then between year 12 and 13, you've like figured it out now. So even though you're still learning more, you know what level to expect the work to be at. So it's not as big as a jump. Yeah. Oops. Motivation for, okay, so I'm going to answer 2 more questions and I'm going to go, because it's been like an hour and a half almost. Okay, so question 1 I'm going to go for, because I think this is a really good one. Motivation for entering an exam hall. Okay, so when you enter the exam hall, just try to think about what you want to get out of this exam. So think about the end goal. What is the end goal? The end goal is for you to pass it, because everyone has a different end goal, right? Do you just want to pass it? Do you want to get a 9 or an A star or an A, whatever? Do you want to do as well as you can? Do you want to, what's your goal? Have your goal in your head, okay? You shouldn't be stressing out at this point. You shouldn't be like, oh, I haven't done this and haven't, no. Have what is that motivates you, okay? So when you're walking into the exam hall, you should be thinking, what motivates me, okay? And then when you sit down, and now you probably have like 10 minutes while everyone's like, coming in and whatever, you should be just remembering the information that you need to know. So if you're in a maths exam, just try to remember the formulas, and if you can quickly scribble them down, do it. I think you're allowed to do that, I'm pretty sure, because you're not cheating, you've got the information, you've got the paper there. If whatever it is that you need to know, just quickly scribble it down if you have like, a minute or two. And then once you open the paper, what I would say is start from the beginning, obviously, but if you can't quite figure out a question, move on. Just leave it completely and move on. Because what can happen is you're going to end up spending 10 minutes trying to figure out a 2-mark question when actually there's a 16-mark question waiting for you, or 8-mark question, or 9-mark question, which is going to take longer. It's much better to lose out on a 2-marker than to lose out on a 10-marker or an 8-marker or even a 5-marker. So the way that I did it was I started from question 1, and then went to 2, 3, 4, struggled on 5. I said, okay, you know what, I'll come back to 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was a bit of I'll come back to that. Keep on going. So that meant that I was able to finish the paper. Also, make sure you're checking the back of the paper as well. So if sometimes there's a question at the back, so just double check that you haven't missed anything. Go to the back as well, because that's quite common actually. People don't go all the way to the back. Go through everything, and when you've gone through everything, then go back to the beginning and start working from the beginning again. Go back to question 5, the one that you missed out. Back to 10, back to 12. Keep going. Again, go back to the front. Keep going. Go back to the front. Keep going. There should never be a closed exam paper until the moment they say, put your pens down. That is when the exam paper closes. I don't care if you've finished all the questions. I don't care if you feel like you've got them all right. Doesn't matter. Go over them again and again and again. Reread your answers. Reread your essays. Add things in. If you want to add something into the exam, into the question, put a little asterisk, and then at the end of the paper, put an asterisk and say, like, this is what's going to go there, basically. So when you enter the exam hall, that is what I recommend you to have, that mentality where it's like, I'm going to do my best. I've done all that I can do. Even if you feel like you haven't, that's fine. You've done all that you can do, and I'm going to go into this and I'm going to do my best. So if you're Muslim, there's du'as that you can read as well. If you're not, you can just ponder and just like think and just try to give yourself a clear mind. There's many exam du'as. I agree. In exams, are you allowed to write in point form? What's point form? Okay, this is probably the last question I'm going to do. Do you have any tips for anxiety before the exam that gets debilitating at times? Yes. Breathing. And you probably heard this before if you have anxiety, that's like clinical, but breathing really helps. So literally and you can do this in the exam, by the way. So just sit there, like get rid of everything out of your hands, just try to clear your thoughts and just like breathe in deeply. So like that, where your chest expands, and then breathe out. Breathe in, do that like 5 times, and you'll notice a huge difference. And like this works so much for not only for exams, but even like if you're just genuinely stressed. When I feel really overwhelmed sometimes, I'm like, okay, stop. Just breathe. And slowly you'll notice yourself calming down a little bit. I'm getting sent to Somalia if I fail. I'm sure you're not. Are you allowed to write in bullet points in exams? Depends. So if it's a 2-mark question, then yeah. But if it's like an essay, like 16-mark question or like an essay question, then technically no. You need to write, like you can plan in bullet points, but you need to write an essay, because part of the mark comes from writing legibly and like writing coherently. Bullet points isn't coherently. This is the last question. What do you think of fasting during exams? I've said this like 4 times now. I think it's absolutely doable, and I think that it shouldn't even be a question. You shouldn't even need to question that. Your concentration will increase, your productivity increases, even though I think, like I said before, the issue with fasting is your tiredness. Obviously, you're probably tired because you've woken up at 3 a.m. and you've woken up at this time and this time. So try to get as much sleep as you possibly can, because during the exam, you actually hopefully would feel more energetic and would feel more kind of on point and more productive. Okay, I'm going to stop there because no, you can't do that. That's so funny. Are you allowed to leave an examiner a note saying, please pass me? I mean, it's entertaining, but they're not going to do that. Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, no, you can't just get over it. The breathing really helps, I promise you. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because otherwise I'm gonna be here all day. I need to pray because it is 4:30 and I haven't prayed yet. So good luck to everyone who has an exam tomorrow. Good luck to everyone who has an exam this week. I am going to be posting a video hopefully sometime this, like maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, about different exam keywords that you should think about. So like describe, explain, evaluate, stuff like that. So yeah, so best of luck for all of your exams that are tomorrow. Like I said, read the question well, plan appropriately, and make sure that you are really answering the question as much as you can, and the information that you know the information. You guys know it. Do not think that you don't know it. I promise you, you know it. Okay. You've spent the past 5 years in education learning. It's there somewhere, right? So just get out. I promise you, you'll do well. And yeah, I'm gonna go now. I don't know if I might do another live maybe in like 2 days time or something, if you guys want to talk about any other issues. So please let me know if you want to. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm trying to hit 30k soon, so please subscribe to my channel, and do let your friends know as well that I exist and I'm here trying to help. And I will be saving this live, so if you send it to your friends, to if you want to help them out with questions that I answered, then yeah, please do. Best of luck. Everyone go now. Get off this and go and revise. Okay, you've got a few hours left till you break a fast, or a few hours left to the evening, so please go and start revising. Do active recall activities, past papers. Okay, so get your past papers, do them again. Even if you've done them before, do them again, and check your knowledge. So test your knowledge. Ask someone, give them a textbook and say, ask me what the definition of this means, and then read it. Ask me what this means. Ask me what this means. Walk around the house reading it out. Act crazy. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, just make sure you do your best. All right, I'm gonna go. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon. It's lovely chatting to you guys. I only meant to be here for like half an hour, but it's been an hour and a half. So hopefully it was useful for all of you. And I'll see you guys in my next live. Bye.